Here's what happened, guys. Today, I talked to a couple of small business owners at our first A Future meetup that happened at Home Team Barbecue in Charleston, South Carolina. Great chicken wings, by the way. And these small business owners are just getting started. And by going into this, going on this path, you are entering into a lot of unknowns for your first time starting out as a small business owner. And it requires a lot of courage, a lot of faith going into that unknown. And when we think of success, what we could look towards is building a business where it can then eventually be bought out by a global corporation and you get your payday, or selling to a private equity firm. That is what can be put out there for especially younger generations like myself, millennial, and then Gen Z, of like, hey, be able to build something really fast, sell it, and then make a lot of money. But success, it doesn't have to look like that. And with this movement is rejecting the shortcuts and actually focusing on principles over profit, making sure you're keeping your soul intact as you are building your business and operating your business. And so success with this movement, one way it can look like for success is operating a business over 5 years, to love the craft and be content in your day, to working on this business and in this business, and then being able to realize you're capable of more, but you also feel fulfillment throughout your day rather than constantly chasing the next shiny object or the next hit of dopamine for your body. And so we have to, as a movement of small business owners, show an alternative future of what success can look like for business owners that are just getting started, because that can actually create a lot of relief in understanding that there's more ways that you can be able to be successful in running your business and making sure that you're improving in the long term your quality of life, not just for yourself, but for your family, for your community, and for our country. So welcome back to the RD Week Show. Happy Wednesday, guys. Yesterday was my birthday. It was a nice day. Excited to be back here with you guys to be able to talk about this, where it's a future where success means operating a business for over 5 years. When we look at the failure rate, when it comes to the national average, after 5 years, there's a 50% failure rate of small businesses. Now, when you compare that to the Amish businesses, after 5 years, the failure rate for Amish businesses is less than 10%. Which, when we see that, and when we see a lot of the talks about AI right now, that's happening, of how this is the future of AI. Again, these experts or leaders in your industry talking about this, you can actually reject that and be able to shape the future. You don't just have to adapt to it. And you have to remind yourselves that we are all human beings talking about this, of where the future is going. And that you actually can, you have a lot of input in shaping that future and deciding what it looks like. And when it comes to AI, I say it's human first, AI second. It's out of the box. We're not putting it back in the box. But it's important to put boundaries on AI. And as small business owners, we are early adopters with new forms of technology that we're testing out and trying out. And so we have a lot of power here in being able to help shape the future that at times we can forget as human beings. And when it comes to success for these failure rates, where it's less than 10% after 5 years for Amish businesses compared to around 50% for the national average, technology then may not be the answer for success and for being able in the long term to continue to operate your business. And actually, what we could go back to, and I want to share with you my screen here, is we can go back to principles, going back to principles over profit. Making sure that as small business owners, we're holding to our principles and we're not just being able to sell our soul for any dollar amount, but we are reminded that our soul is eternal. And as we go through running our business in the day-to-day, and we're dealing with a lot of challenging moments and a lot of suffering, it can be really easy to lean into what is easy and convenient. rather than doing what is right. And as small business owners in this movement, we have to reject doing what is easy and convenient when we are then selling our soul. We have to remind ourselves the importance of doing what is right over what is easy and convenient. So let me share this with you guys here. Bear with me for the patience. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to the show. Leave a comment too for what success means to you. Do you resonate with the success of operating a business more than 5 years? But let me share with you here the 4 cardinal virtues, which I really believe we got to come back to this in our society and be able to celebrate this more, which is prudence, wisdom, timeless wisdom. How much wisdom are we lacking right now in our society? Justice, fairness, going back to fairness across industries. To have these global corporations getting these corporate welfare packages for tax cuts and being able to bid for the best tax cuts. That is, again, going back to you, the taxpayer, are going to have to foot that bill at some point. We, as small business owners, we usually get placed. No, not usually. You can say this when it comes to these packages here. We're placed last compared to the global corporations. And when it comes to fairness, that for me doesn't make any sense. We got to be curious and ask questions about what's going on here, because it's been less than 100 years where these tax incentives has started to become used in our different states. And we have to ask ourselves, has this actually improved the quality of life of Americans overall? Or has this really hurt our country? Has it created more challenges and problems in our cities and towns? And with the AI data centers that are happening here, an example we see in Kevin O'Leary's Utah data center, this is starting to not make sense for us. And when we look around and we look at the overall quality of life, there's a lot of pain right now, and we're not setting ourselves up well for the future, for setting our children's generation up, grandchildren's generation up for success into the future. We're actually going down a really dangerous path here as a country. So justice is another one. Fortitude, the courage to go into the unknown. To be able to challenge the fears that we have as we're building our business, making sure that we have courage through that process. And that one way to help have more courage is to connect with other small business owners that are on a similar path as you, that are in it. And so community is so important. And over time, it feels like we've continuously gotten isolated ourselves. And especially when it comes to technology, we got to continue to ask ourselves, are we feeling more isolated or more connected? And it's an important conversation now in the age with AI coming into our daily lives of making sure that we're taking the time to get in to connect in person. There is a big difference from in person and virtual. And then temperance, moderation, being able to put boundaries. Again, boundaries on new technologies like AI, boundaries in our habits, to make sure that we are able to, in the long term, continue to operate our business and show up for business rather than hitting burnout. So these cardinal virtues would be amazing to be able to have these celebrated in our society more and elevated in our society more. Because again, with these principles that we can put in place and with other moral virtues, we can then be able, for the long term, continue to show up for our business, show up in our life, for our health, show up for our families, for our communities. And we cannot forget about these and how important it is to be able to live a life with these moral virtues. And for me, coming back to my faith in Christianity and being able, I'd believed in God, but I'd been a tourist a lot. I'm a Catholic, and I felt like a tourist a lot of my life. And just recently coming back into my faith, I realized just how powerful it is to remind ourselves that there is one true God, and that is Jesus, and reminding ourselves that we are one little piece in this bigger puzzle of life. You could call it that, or a bigger journey in life. And we do have a bigger purpose out there, and it does take some time to figure that out. And as small business owners, there are moments where you have to change, you have to try different things. And there is that testing phase. I call it the spaghetti phase, where you're seeing what's going to work for your business, what you get excited about, but also that you can have a deep passion for to be able to continue to operate the business, especially during the hard times, because it's not a matter of if, but it's when the hard times come, and they will, and the suffering comes. It's in those moments where faith is so important. Being able to connect with God and to realize that there's a lesson through that suffering, and there by continuing to show up and strengthening and being able to endure. There's a gift of perseverance through that, to realize looking back that if you can handle that, what else can you handle in life? And that can continue to help raise our standards across our over 1,000 industries, and to be able to remind ourselves just how much potential is in our country. I have conversations with small business owners across the country, and I see the potential here. We have so much potential in our country, and we don't have to have this nihilism view and this view that there's no way for us to turn this around for our country. Because again, we do have some big messes we got to clean up. National debt is over $39 trillion. Gen Z is the most in-debt generation. We are in a war right now with Iran, and it just doesn't make sense when we start to ask questions and we're curious, and when you are being curious and asking questions, things don't make sense. And we have this Epstein class that is the powerful, and then there's the rest of us. And so this movement is about we the people versus the Epstein class. And I do believe America's future leaders are small business owners. So we have to unite here and realize that success doesn't always have to look like selling to a big corporation, globalist corporation, but it could be continuing to operate our business with the intentions we had set out at the beginning for our business. And one example of where that has gone the opposite way and really hurt a brand is you may be familiar with the brand Aunt Annie's mac and cheese. And I want to share with you Aunt Annie's, or Annie's. I say Aunt Annie because I had an Aunt Annie. But yeah, it's Annie's mac and cheese here as I'm sharing it. But I had an Aunt Annie who, she was amazing. She was my great aunt, and she'd like take us out to ice cream and hang out. She always talked like, "Hey guys, how's it going? All right, let's go over here and get some ice cream." Like she had that like voice, and it was like I still remember that voice. But she was just like so much joy. There was so much joy there, and she was such a light. But yeah, it's funny. That just reminded me of her with this Annie's mac and cheese situation. But this is where it's really sad to see this part of it for businesses where they sell to a big corporation. So Annie's mac and cheese was bought by General Mills, and then the recipe for their the mac and cheese was which were the flavors here, but it basically removed butter and non-fat milk, and then replaced it with cornstarch, a thickener, and people could notice the difference in the taste. It's you're taking away these ingredients, key ingredients, and replacing them. So that's just one example of other food brands where that's happened, and it's really sad to see that, because the founders have great intentions going into this and really want to make a difference. Is the sense I get. I for Annie's, I can't say personally if what their intentions were, but because I haven't met them. But usually there's good intentions here, and what then happens is money gets in the way, and money's very important in our basic needs, being able to make those happen. But at what cost for selling our soul? What's the cost where we end up taking the big check and then seeing the brand completely get destroyed? What does that do to our soul? And I think more and more small business owners are waking up to that. More startups, founders are waking up to that fact, and it's important to continue to have that type of conversation here. And it doesn't mean we can't still grow it and make it bigger. I'm all for that growth, but making sure that, again, are we holding to our principles and really protecting our soul through that process is very important. As a reminder that we don't just ignore the impact that this could have on our soul, because we are looking for stability. in our country. We are. There's a lot of chaos out there, and they were getting that messaging that things are going to just keep changing. So we do want things that can last and that are beautiful. And this movement, this A Future movement, is making sure that we are helping small business owners to be able to operate a business that can last, that can handle the chaos, that can be stable throughout the chaos. It doesn't mean we're not going to suffer and have those challenges. That's part of the process, but to be able to withstand it and continue to move forward, because the antidote of chaos is stability. And as small business owners, there's so many hardworking, decent Americans out there, and small business owners that really want this country to turn it around. And I do believe with the potential we have in this country, we're set up for the greatest comeback in history as a country. But it goes back to, we have to focus on these principles and celebrate them in our society, and realize that success doesn't have to mean selling to a big global corporation, but it can mean operating a business for over 5 years, and then even potentially then from there passing it on to our kids or grandkids, or independent, hardworking Americans that are wanting to steward this business and really value the mission that you started with for your business. So if you're a small business owner who wants to connect with other small business owners in person to shape the future of our country, and you care about this country, and you want to make sure that future generations can achieve the American dream, then you can join us for A Future Fest. This is where you can register, afuturefest.com. It is happening on January 14th, 15th, 2027 in Charleston, South Carolina. Plan is to have over 300 small business owners coming across industries to be able to share with you different strategies, different solutions to the challenges that you're dealing with in your business. When you can get different perspectives, you can start to notice similar patterns, and then that can better prepare you for the chaos, not just in the present, but in the future. And when it comes to the antidote of chaos, that is stability. You'll then be able to have more stability, not just in the business, but then in your overall life. And what could that do then for your quality of life? So I will see you guys tomorrow.